Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, what is the connection between Seattle City Hall and the LA terror plot that was foiled by the FBI? But before we get to any of that, before we get to our daily dose of adrenaline, before we get to our top story, guys, there is a flash flood warning for West Central King County, Washington. The National Weather Service in Seattle has issued this flash flood warning because we have a levee that has been breached. Now, I highly recommend, if you're anywhere near the Tukwila area, especially State Route 167, you check your emergency service connection provider so you can find out where to be and where not to be. This is not a joke. This is not for messing around. They are working on repairing the levees, and even though on TV it looks like it's just a small hole, guys, water will find wherever it can go. If you can get out now. If you need help, I recommend you call 911 and the appropriate rescue first responders immediately. This is no joke. You don't want to wait until it's too late. Thank God, last time I checked, nobody has died yet from this flooding. You don't want to be number one. If you are seeing any of these warnings, get out of the area. And later in the show, we'll talk about why the Democrat taxes didn't prevent any of this. But for right now, your safety is the most important thing.
Yeah, man, don't be Harry Truman out on the mountain there. It's like, oh, this mountain will never get me. The mountain proceeds to murder that guy.
Yes, exactly.
Because he wasn't smart enough to heed the warnings. So heed the warnings. Prepare a go bag for you and your family and your pets and all that. Just be prepared. Be ready. Like, this is mostly down in the valley. I live in SeaTac by the airport, so it hasn't quite affected me yet other than some swamp in my backyard. But I'm not taking anything for granted. Just have like a spare set of clothes or like some water or something. Have a go bag ready.
Yes, exactly. Do all of that. Be safe. And if you have relatives that can't get out, get them out. If you know people who can't get out, get them out. This is no joke. I know. I see the sun rising also. I see the cloud breaks also. Guys, there's tons of water to deal with, and there's more rain on the way. This is no joke. If you have to leave these areas immediately. Also, if you're in an area affected by the floods, tell us how bad it is. Give us a call at 206-421-5757 or text us at 206-421-5757. But if you need to get out, do not delay because you are texting or calling us. Call us once you're safe. Now it's time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Over the weekend in Australia, mass shooting at Bondi Beach, which was the site of over 1,000 people attending a Hanukkah celebration. What happens at a Hanukkah celebration? Well, this one was a Hanukkah celebration by the sea, because don't forget, their seasons work a little differently in Australia than they do here, and they're basically in the middle of spring-summer right now. So they're having a big Hanukkah celebration. What do we do at Hanukkah celebrations? We eat latkes. We light menorahs. We spin dreidels. We have bounce houses and face painters and balloon artists. Yesterday at my synagogue, we had the Mariner Moose. Lots of fun. And two, Islamic terrorists decide to open fire on the crowd, killing 15 people, including a rabbi, a Holocaust survivor, and a 10-year-old girl. This is what Globalize the Intifada looks like. What did you expect? When you start marching through the streets, calling for an armed uprising, you're going to get an armed uprising. Australia has been having massive problems ever since October 7th with unchecked Islamic immigration into that country. So right after October 7th, you literally had people chanting in front of the Sydney Opera House, "Gas the Jews." I don't want to play that clip of audio for you again because it's so disturbing. You literally had that right after October 7th. Every single weekend at Bondi Beach, that place has been vandalized with anti-Semitic, anti-Israel graffiti. You're having protests on a regular basis in that area. And all of a sudden, you're surprised in Melbourne, Australia yesterday. After 15 people are murdered, you have people out there protesting on behalf of Hamas. Why is anybody surprised by any of this? I'm not. In fact, latest reports say that people in Australia have been contacting the authorities about this for the last 2 years, ever since October 7th. You've had fire bombings of synagogues. You've had cars firebombed. You've had cars smashed in. You've had houses vandalized. You've had people assaulted. And I love how a lot of people immediately go to the gun control argument. Australia has some of the strictest gun control laws in the world. That didn't prevent any of this. Somebody who is truly determined to do harm is going to find a way to do harm. If they can't find a gun, they're going to find a knife. If they can't find a knife, they're going to find a car. If they can't find a car, they're going to find homemade chemicals and build a bomb. If they can't do that, they're going to beat somebody to death. You're never going to stop somebody who's truly determined. But there's something even more disturbing that happened yesterday. You have a disarmed population in Australia. I want you to listen to this survivor of the Bondi Beach attack. Give a listen to what he said.
Can you tell me what happened?
Yes, it was two shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge, and just started to shoot. For 20 minutes, they shoot, change magazine and just shoot.
Think about that for a second. 20 minutes of just shooting. 20 minutes. We know what happens in 2. We know what happens in 5. 20 minutes. I don't have the complete injury count list. There were so many of them. Shooting, unstopped, unchecked for 20 minutes. Where were the police? There's video of them cowering in fear. There were no police. One Muslim man saw one of the shooters, tackled him, got the gun away from him, and whether because he didn't know how to use a gun, whether because he couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger, whether he realized how strict the gun laws are there in Australia, and they might have come after him for stopping a mass shooting, for some reason he's holding this long gun, pointing it at the suspect, and he can't pull the trigger. He just disarmed him while he was firing. This Muslim man is a hero, showing that not everybody in a certain socioeconomic group is a bad person. But that's the exception, not the rule, because you see people out there in the streets celebrating this attack. Is anybody surprised after the last 2 years? Anybody?
Simple as that. 20 minutes was 4 policemen there. Nobody gave fire back. Nothing. Like they are froze. Like what? It looked like 20 minutes. Like, and they shoot. The guy changed magazine. I look at him all the time. I was doing my babies under me, and I look at that, and it's just rifle and a pistol.
You hear what he said? The law enforcement froze. And in fact, I have video of the 20 minutes of this. It's so graphic, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to share it. It is so graphic, and you see police officers cowering in fear. Security guards, what were they there for? They're there to stop something like this. They didn't do anything. I don't know if they were even armed. When you disarm an entire population. Hey, has that worked out for you guys? Has that worked out at all? No, now no good guys had guns to stop what happened. Any event I go to, the event I had last night for my synagogue, not only did we have private security, but SPD was nice enough to send a few units over. Big thank you to SPD for doing that, for being on the spot and helping us out with that. But is anybody surprised by this? Anybody at all? When you invite the third world, you bring in the third world problems. When you invite in Sharia law, you're going to have those problems. What, you think because Australia said, hey, we should do a 2-state solution and support Palestine, that made a place next to Narnia? You think that all of a sudden you're going to be safe from these attacks? No. They think, we got them to do this. What else can we make them do out of fear? The Democrats yesterday, it was Hanukkah. Hanukkah started last night. And you've got all these Democrats with their Hanukkah messages. Spare me your empty virtue signaling nonsense. Oh, Pramila Jayapal Happy Hanukkah, everybody. You know, the Hanukkah story happened in Israel when the Maccabees, the Jews, were fighting off a group of foreign invaders, right? Oh, here's something you don't like very much. The word Palestine was adopted by the Romans, Palestina, off the idea of the Plishtim, the Philistines from the Bible, who are the historical enemy of the Jews. Do you know what that word means in the Bible? Invaders. They were a seafaring people who came from other parts of the sea and came to, guess where? What is now known as Gaza. So congratulations, by calling them Palestinians, you're calling them invaders. You have just proved the point that they are not indigenous to that land. Then you have people like Katie Wilson. Oh, I'm so sad about what happened. So very sad. Spare me, Katie Wilson. You've been taking the Hamas narrative since long before you were running for office. Bob Ferguson saying how tragic this was and somehow relating it to the flooding, which I don't know what one has to do with the other. Bob Ferguson literally, as Attorney General, took the case of CARE, one of the unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation trial, took a case on behalf of them to allow people to keep coming to this country from Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Syria, all these wonderful garden hotspots. He wanted them to keep coming into this country. He was silent when Hamasniks took over the University of Washington campus and put up a violent anti-Semitic Gaza encampment. Now you want to say, oh, I want the entire Jewish community to be safe? Spare me. You worked hard to make sure we wouldn't be safe, along with the rest of the city, along with the rest of the state. You did nothing about the Hamasniks who were blocking the freeways. Did nothing whatsoever. Senator Patty Murray, as Jewish families in Washington state and around the world celebrate the start of Hanukkah, I'm thinking of the victims of the horrific shooting in Sydney. Aren't you the one who was falsely claiming there was a genocide in Gaza? Weren't you voting against any legislation that came up regarding Israel? Spare me your nonsense. I'm tired of it. What, Ilhan Omar had a Hanukkah post? We should be all excited about it? Rashida Tlaib had a Hanukkah post? We should be all excited about it? Enough. I'm tired of it. You had U.S. service members attacked in Syria. You had a shooting at Brown University. We still don't know a lot about the suspect there. And my guess is the reason they're keeping it quiet is because they don't want to admit something about the suspect there. We'll find out when they actually arrest this guy. How many other things this weekend do you realize that this is what you get with calls to globalize the Intifada? They don't want the end of Israel. End of Israel is just a stepping stone to the end of Western civilization. They see all of us, whether we're Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, liberals, socialists. They see all of us, every single one of us, as somebody who is an infidel, as somebody who needs to be wiped out. And how many of our college kids have been brainwashed by this insanity? This is what Globalize the Intifada looks like. This is what they are chanting for when they march at University of Washington, when they block I-5, when they block SeaTac, when they shut down Christmas tree lightings. This is what they are calling for. And you're surprised when they break up a terror cell down in Los Angeles, and we're going to tell you later in the show today the connection to Seattle with those militant Antifa pro-Hamas activists. I'm angry because I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. This was only a matter of time. I've been screaming it from the rooftops since long before October 7th. I'm not as mad as I was at October 7th because, unfortunately, this is just expected at this point. But I'll tell you something else that bothers me. Is I understand people want to mourn. Believe me, I get it. I do. But we're in the middle of Hanukkah, which is supposed to be a happy holiday. And I understand when there's death and destruction and people are trying to kill us. There's a lot of people talking about canceling Hanukkah events. That is not what we do. There's people talking about canceling New Year's Eve. They canceled New Year's Eve in Paris. New Year's Eve was being targeted in Los Angeles. That is not what we do. Terrorists want to disrupt our way of life. They want you to be terror justified. That's the whole point of terrorism. You get more security. You arm up. You make sure the people in your congregation or your event or whatever it is have trained security guards, trained police officers, and know what they're doing. But you do not start canceling, because that's when the other side starts winning. Usually, when Hanukkah is during the show, which is very, very often, I always make sure to wear my ugly Hanukkah sweaters and my ugly Hanukkah suit. And I thought today, should I really wear the thing? Is it really appropriate that I'm going to have the video streaming while wearing this ridiculous thing? Of course it is. Because the second we interrupt the things we normally do for the terrorists, they win. So if you're checking out the live stream today, you can see my hideously ugly Hanukkah sweater over on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and X. And if you can only see the tops of their heads here, I'll do a little tiptoe for a second. It's Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock spinning their dreidel. Yes, you know where that's from. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from KC in Tequila. KC, what's going on?
Hey, I've been flooded out of my temporary location. They kicked us out, and they're going to shut the power down in Tukwila.
Where are you going to right now?
I've got a friend over in Renton, but I was going to get on, and I wasn't prepared because I was watching the traffic, and I was going to sing, "Bye, bye, Miss American, bye." Drove my Chevy to the levee, but guess what? The
levee's not there. The levee's not. I shouldn't be laughing. The levee's not there anymore. Yeah, I heard that from a few people today. It's crazy, man. So, Casey, is your house flooded out? What's the story here?
No, I'm in temporary living. My house is up on a plateau, but I don't know. Knowing this state, Ferguson will probably screw up something that'll cause my plateau to blow up or something.
Oh, please not. Please not. We don't want that to happen. But I will say is that you heard this, is that Bob Ferguson is going to tax anybody whose house floods, a tax for flooding, right? That's a joke. Joke. But I love how many people actually believe that's true. It's a joke because he will tax anything.
About as bad as Christmas joke I heard about Santa Claus. They're not charging him for parking because it's on the house.
Oh, boo. Very good, Casey. Stay safe. Good on you for following the directions, man. Yeah, you take care.
Good to talk to you. It's been a while. Have a great day. Have a good Hanukkah.
All right. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year, sir. Stay safe. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Paul and Puyallup. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, can you tell me what you really feel today?
Am I not expressive enough today? Is that what it is? You know, it's a bad thing, Paul, when my audience starts getting my sarcasm here. This isn't good that it's transmitting through the radio here.
Well, I just don't understand what's going on. I come in and I tell you what's up. I just don't understand. So, this thing about the river to the sea, the second verse, as I told you, is from sea to shining sea.
Yep.
People just don't understand what's going on right now. I'm watching some guy tackle a guy that has a gun pointed at the guy that was shooting at everyone, and his first reaction is to put the gun down. That's the issue of what went on in Australia. They are afraid to do anything with guns now. We should not be that way. And then also, what happened at Brown, I'm coming back from the hockey game last night, and I'm going, what the heck is going on? They have these people come on the TV and say, hey, we don't have the right person, but you know what? It's okay. Don't be afraid. We know that he's not going to do anything. They come on today and say, hey, he has a weapon.
Right.
And you've got to take refuge somewhere. What the heck is going on, Ari?
Well, here's the thing, Paul.
And we got two people right now that are anti-Semitic that is in the Congress. Those are the two that come out every day and say, hey, we hate Israel. And we can't even do anything to them. How are we going to do anything to anybody else? Go ahead, Ari.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's your show now. No, it's, what I was going to say was it's absolutely insane to me that people haven't learned their lesson. But what's crazier is, why do you think they're hiding the identity of the shooter in Brown University? It's because it doesn't fit the narrative, and they don't want to talk about it.
There you go.
Exactly.
And you know what? I just I don't understand. And they're probably saying, "Oh, we just thwarted a terror thing that's going on in L.A." No, it's not in L.A. It's in the United States. It's in North America. It's in the whole world. These people, and excuse me for this, we need the Crusades to come back.
Oh, we don't want that. No. I'm going to stop you there, Paul, because it wasn't okay. Let's stop. You were doing so well, Paul. You were doing so well. I'm going to maybe Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. We'll get on board with that one. Paul, appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? You give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And when we come back, my friends, as I mentioned, there is a connection between this L.A. terror cell that was broken up in our very own Seattle City Hall and your taxpayer dollars. We'll tell you what is when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. There was a big announcement this morning when I woke up. Yeah, I slept in a little bit today. Had a few too many drinks with the Mariner Moose at the Hanukkah party last night. Who am I kidding? The Mariner Moose can't drink. I know some people are going, Ari, what's the connection between the Mariner Moose and Hanukkah? Dude's got a menorah on his head. Have you not seen what that dude looks like? Clearly, that's why you bring in the Mariner Moose. I'm kidding. Anywho, I did see this announcement from Fox News very early this morning.
The FBI now reports that it's disrupted a planned New Year's Eve terror attack in Los Angeles. 4 suspects in custody, the FBI identifying them as members of a pro-Palestine extremist group. They're suspected of planning coordinated IED attacks targeting 5 different locations in Los Angeles. But based on the reporting now, that plot has been foiled. We will wait for more out of L.A. or out of Washington, D.C.
Okay, so the FBI broke up a terror cell in Los Angeles. Now, for me, when they say pro-Palestinian, the problem is these days, that could mean one of two things. That could mean actual Arab terrorists, Islamic extremists, or that could mean a whole bunch of white people with Antifa. It could mean either one. Turns out, it's a bunch of Antifa types. That's exactly what this is. The FBI told Fox News that the members of the self-identified as part of the radical offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, an extremist group motivated by pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement, and anti-government ideology. You mean anarchists? According to the FBI, they were allegedly planning coordinated bombing attacks on New Year's Eve using improvised explosive devices, IEDs, targeting 5 separate locations across Los Angeles. Oh, well, I wonder what their names are for a second. I assume it's Mohammed bin Mohammed and Ahmed ben Ahmed and all that. Let's see here. Audrey Eileen Carroll, Zachary Aaron Page, Dante Gaffield, Tina Lai. Wait a second. None of those sound like the usual types. Oh, you mean they're the typical hardcore, white, Antifa militant types? Yeah. A lot of people today had to start doing some Googling. What is Turtle Island? What are they talking about? Well, you know what it basically is. The short summary of their ideology is that Canada and the U.S. are occupied because we took it from the Indians and we should really be giving it back. And their chanting is from Turtle Island to Palestine, everybody must be free. Okay. Aside from the fact that they're ignorant of history and don't understand how any of this works, their insane ideology led them down a terrorist path. Ari, why do you know so much about these Turtle Island nincompoops? Funny you should mention it. Mike, you remember when I was going after everything that moves, like these are people who support terror and those are people who support terror, like right after October 7th? And I said, guys, it's been right in front of us the whole time. How come you didn't notice it? Well, I remember there was this article that Seattle Department of Neighborhoods paid several $1,000s for somebody to write on the Department of Neighborhoods website. Yes, I'm sure it was worth spending several $1,000s on an article for the Department of Neighborhoods website. Mike, if we pulled out the ranking of high-trafficked websites in the world, do you think the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods would even rank? Better yet, how about just websites in Seattle? How about just websites that are in Seattle proper? Do you think the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods website would rank at all? Probably not. But they dropped several $1,000s giving money to this woman named Luna Reyna. We're just going to call her Lunatic. And guess what she did for Thanksgiving of 2023, right after the October 7th terrorist attack? Wrote a whole Megillah about this Turtle Island insanity and comparing it to why the Palestinians didn't do anything wrong on October 7th and why they were justified in what they did. And your tax dollars paid for it. And at the time, a whole bunch of you sent me this. I don't know what you were all doing on the Department of Neighborhoods website, but you all sent me this thing. I did a public disclosure request and found out they spent several $1,000s on this thing. This is one of the Antifa mantras, this Turtle Island business. There's no place called Turtle Island. Maybe there is, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about America, they're talking about Canada. And thousands of your taxpayer dollars were paid to some woman to write one article supporting this lunacy and supporting Hamas terrorists. You think they'd be a little smarter and maybe take that off the website? Nope. Still up there. Went to check today. That's right. This woman's name is Luna Reyna, otherwise known as Luna Tick. And this is the one who they paid thousands of your taxpayer dollars to put this up on the Seattle Department of Neighborhood's website. And now it's tied to a terrorist organization. So bravo, Seattle, for being ahead of the curve. As always, we go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take call from Craig in Puyallup. A lot of people from Puyallup today. What's going on, Craig?
Well, I'm staying high and dry.
Good for you.
Yeah. Anyway, that tragic shooting down there in Bondi, it gets brought up multiple times. I've heard it. And magnificent job for the guy stepping up and taking the gun away from the guy. People were saying, why didn't he shoot him? Why didn't they shoot him? At that point, it appeared the guy was disarmed, taking the gun from him. At some point, the guy's turning to run away. So he's no longer a direct threat. He's no longer a threat to you. And, the citizen with a gun does not get the opportunity to be judge, jury, and executioner. The guy deserved it. I mean, goodness. But, if I was to disarm somebody and for whatever thing they did, it was, say it's murder, and he's disarmed, I just don't get to blow the guy away.
I had a friend. I'll tell you this. You're 100% right. Now, remember, it's a different country and they have different laws, but their laws are even stricter than ours. So can you imagine what their laws would say in this situation? I have a friend who's a karate expert, and he got carjacked one time. And he disarmed the people in the middle of Queens, New York, Queens Boulevard, not the nicest neighborhood. He disarmed these guys, and then he pummeled them so badly that he actually got charged. And that was, he didn't even use the gun on them because they ruled that, hey, you went too far in disarming these guys because you are a lethal weapon. So, yes, you're 100% right. Imagine what would happen if this guy opened fire, even though in that situation you could claim the guy was not even a threat anymore. It's crazy, and their gun laws are so much stricter than ours down there. Yeah, I really did a lot to prevent this whole thing. Craig, appreciate the context, man. Oh, yeah, go ahead. You got one more thing to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got one more. And if after you got the gun and you're standing there, he did the right thing. Put it down. Because there's gunfire and there's bad people doing bad things. Cops show up, besides the cowering behind cars.
Yes, exactly.
You're a target.
Yep.
So
Good
you
point.
Be careful. Anyway.
Good point, Craig. You stay high and dry. You stay safe, my friend. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the context. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And when we come back, my friends, U.S. service members are attacked in Syria. This is what Globalize the Intifada looks like. We'll tell you the latest when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. By the way, in all this insanity with globalizing the Intifada over the weekend, which we're seeing play out in real time, there seems to be only one Democrat who's actually of the right moral compass and the right thinking. Can't find a Fetterman. John Fetterman, Senator from Pennsylvania, says it correctly. And this is what everybody should be saying.
Mainstream outlets like the New York Times is constantly a strong anti-Israel views on those things, and other media as well, to call it what it is. And now here in my own party, I've been incredibly disappointed, and people are trying to pretend these kinds of words and terms like, from the river to the sea, or to globalize the Intifada, and all those other things. We all know what this means, and I refuse to pander to that. And now for me, it's been a rot, within the American left and within my party.
He's 100% right. I say we globalize the enchilada. I think we can all be on board with that. Yeah, forget Taco Tuesday. Let's just globalize the enchilada. Why is John Fetterman the only one who can speak with moral clarity about this? Everybody else, 2 minutes ago, they were claiming globalize the Intifada. And then it's not just Israel that got hit this weekend, it's U.S. service members. You had U.S. service members attacked in Syria while they're working to try and make that country not a terrorist regime anymore. 2 U.S. soldiers, 1 civilian, were killed during an ISIS attack in Syria. An ISIS attack. Here's what the president had to say about that this weekend.
So we mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. There was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss, and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones.
Do you guys remember a year ago? A year ago, coming up on a year anniversary of the terrorist attack in New Orleans by a guy from ISIS. Everybody forgot about that. Just completely forgot it even happened. Yeah, you forget about that whole thing in New Orleans last year, literally less than a year ago. We had that. Nobody's talking about it anymore. This is the kind of stuff that happens far too regularly, but at least we have a president who speaks with clarity when it comes to any of this. This is what he said about the attack at Bondi Beach.
We're here for a different reason. We're here to celebrate Christmas and to celebrate, and I think today we can first say loudly we celebrate Hanukkah, because that was such a horrible attack. That was a purely anti-Semitic attack. And to really celebrate the new year, we have an amazing couple of achievements. We've taken in more investment money than any country has ever taken in by 4.
And then he goes back to the usual speech. But, guys, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to just speak with moral clarity on any of this? This should not be a hard thing to do. It really shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the White House. It's nice to see familiar faces. First of all, my thoughts and prayers go to the families of people who lost their loved ones around the world in this difficult time. We are celebrating here Christmas, and I'm thinking about them, what they're going through. So my heart is with them.
Thank you to our First Lady. It's not that hard. Fetterman, President, First Lady, it shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't be. And yet the Democrats seem to have a major problem where they know if they say the wrong thing, their lunatic activists are going to come marching on their offices this weekend. Do you know what happened right after the attack at Bondi Beach, after the attack in Syria? You had people marching on behalf of Hamas. You had people marching on behalf of terrorist organizations. These cowardly Democrats don't want the next protest to be on their front doorstep. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
Couple of things, and they're both about the insurgency here at home. Number one, I've been listening the whole time, and I put out the number for a certain Bob Ferguson. You might have heard of the guy. He's now our governor. I gave him the number to call in this show and condemn anti-Semitism. And did he call in today?
Oh,
No.
you think Bob Ferguson's
How
going to call
about
us today?
no?
He's too busy in his yoga pants, looking like he has something to do with the flood today.
Yeah, well, the Climate Commitment Act has done a lot of good for public transit, but he needs to also, he can't even.
Wait. You had me, Joe. The Climate Commitment Act has done a lot of good for public transit. I thought it was the Climate Commitment Act, and it's supposed to do good for the climate. And if you tell me, well, more public transportation we have is going to offset climate emissions, it's not true by any measurable number. Now, Joe, I know you're Transit Joe. If you want laws that get more money for transit or build transit or support transit, don't you think that should be its own transit legislation, not the Climate Commitment Act? This is as crazy as saying the Inflation Reduction Act was about solving the climate. I thought it was supposed to be about bringing down inflation.
You missed my point, and the point was I want our governor to be focused on addressing this anti-Semitism, and I want to make sure I bring this up because I emailed it to you. I got the latest batch from Governor Ferguson about anti-Semitism, and I found out he went to an event where Mayor Bruce Harrell gave a key to the city to known appeaser Anna Marie Kosh.
Hoochie Coochie. Anna Marie Cauchy, yes. The one from University of Washington, yes, that's somebody who deserves the key of the city. Well, actually, she gave the key to UW to the Hamas terrorists. So, yes, she's good about giving keys to things to other people. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, President Trump, as much as we love him, really stepped in it today. And he's getting condemned by both sides of the aisle. He's about to hear it from me, too. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were murdered last night, stabbed to death in a pretty horrible fashion. Watching the news reports come out was just absolutely horrific. And now there's a suspect in custody, which is his son, Nick. And this is something that has just gone completely viral. Everybody's talking about it because whether or not you agreed with his politics, odds are you liked some of his movies. A Few Good Men, definitely one of my favorites. So many iconic movies that Rob Reiner was responsible for. Did I like his politics? No. I hated his politics. That doesn't mean I wanted him to die. I literally came home last night. My wife tells me what's going on. Blown away. Shocked because it's so horrific and so tragic. Now, something weird was going on social media last night. The left was claiming, oh, the right is celebrating this. Nobody was celebrating it. Everybody across the board was talking about how tragic it was. In fact, even Andrew Colvett, who was Charlie Kirk's producer, put up a post with Rob Reiner on Piers Morgan talking about the murder of Charlie Kirk. And listen what Rob Reiner said at the time.
When you first heard about the murder of Charlie Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Well, horror, absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, at the memorial they had, was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others, and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful.
And Andrew Colvett wrote, Rob Reiner responded with grace and compassion to Charlie's assassination. This video makes it all more painful to hear of he and his wife's tragic end. May God be close to the brokenhearted in this terrible story. Perfect thing to write. And in fact, I think most people on the right were saying the exact same thing until this morning. President Trump wrote this on Truth Social. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the administration surpasses all goals and expectations of greatness. With the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Bad move. Not a great move. Not a good look. In fact, a really, really, really bad look. Especially when everybody from the right, left, center, everybody is talking about what a tragedy this is. The outlier was the President of the United States. And especially when last night people on the left were claiming people on the right were saying things like this when they weren't. The first time I saw it posted was by the president. This was not the move. This is not what you do. And this was an unforced error. Plus, think about the implications of this for a second. So, at the time, we knew the son was the prime suspect. So you're saying that the murderer killed Rob Reiner because of his Trump derangement syndrome? Wouldn't that make him somebody on the right? Is that really what you want to do? I don't think this was well thought out. I think this is a pretty bad tweet. And I think everybody's right in calling it out. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line for a quick minute. We got Jeff from Poulsbo. Jeff, what's going on?
Yeah, Ari, my question is, are you having some trouble understanding why a lot of sentiment is becoming more anti-Semitic?
Why a lot of sentiment about what is becoming more anti-Semitic?
A lot of sentiment of the people, of the world.
About what? Which people are we talking about? Are you saying why people are becoming more anti-Semitic? They're not more anti-Semitic. We're just seeing people actually say it more often. I don't think there's more anti-Semites than there were before. Where are we going with this?
Well, I guess sorry, I'm here at the bank driving through. Thank you. You sounded like you were having some trouble understanding why.
Do
you have trouble understanding why?
Please educate me as to why you think people are more anti-Semitic now than they were before.
Well, I don't think you make many friends when the world observes the genocide that's going on.
Jeff, would you mind providing proof for me about a genocide going on in Gaza, given the fact that the birth rate of Palestinians has gone up during this entire thing, including the population of Palestinians, including the fact that there is the lowest civilian to combatant death rate in all of human history? Would you mind explaining to me where the genocide is? I'll take sources, please.
Well, the 100,000 people, the children.
Whoa. No. I said sources. You are literally parroting something coming from Hamas. Can you please give me a source for your 100,000 number? Because even the UN doesn't agree with your number. I'm waiting for sources.
Well, what is it, 50,000, a number you can agree with?
No, because that's also an inaccurate number. The 50,000 number that you are quoting right now is the one put out by the UN, where 40,000 of them were terrorists, and the UN is not pro-Israel. So, would you mind giving me a source for what you're saying?
No children involved either, huh?
I didn't say that. I said there's plenty of children. When you use children as human shields, that's going to happen. Would you mind giving me sources for your 100,000 number? You said 100. Now you're negotiating with me? Would you like, I'll tell you what, let's throw in 20,000 more. Let's throw in 30,000 more. Let's throw in 50,000 more. So you want to go from 100 to 50. That's half the people. You're just like Hamas, erasing these people ever existed before.
What do you get from the Jewish lobby in terms of cash every month?
Oh, let me tell you, sir, I get tons of money. In fact, I get keys to the space laser every month. I get to use it on people I don't like. So, Jeff, you're talking about why the anti-Semitism is increasing, and now you accuse me of being a member of the Jewish lobby? What else you got for me?
Yeah, you're getting paid off to spout their line.
I'm being paid off, Jeff. Can you provide receipts? Can you provide receipts? My taxes are available on the internet, as are yours, Jeff from Polsbo. Would you mind telling me where you see the money for my payments from the Israeli government? I know how much I had to pay out to go visit my son in Israel. It's not free.
Position. You shouldn't be taking such a ridiculous position unless you were getting paid off.
So far, you're the one who told me a number that's completely made up that you couldn't even prove. Thank you for the call, Jeff. I mean, this was very, very educational and telling all of us exactly where your side of this is coming from. Really do appreciate it, Jeff, so much.
Boring conversation anyway.
Wow, that was something. Really something. Holy cow. All right. When we come back, lots more, my friends, including the latest on the flooding. Are you getting to high ground? Tell me all about it. Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless and apparently the Israel lobby as well. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the shooting at Brown University. They claim everybody's safe, but they don't have a suspect in custody. But before we get to any of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Paul in Tacoma. Paul, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari, did you know there was a secret Democratic meeting downtown Seattle at WAMU on Friday?
At WAMU?
Yeah, it's at Friday.
Wait, you mean the arts center? You mean like the theater, the WAMU Theater? Is that what we're talking about?
Right.
Okay, yeah, which for some reason they haven't gotten corporate sponsorship for anything else because WAMU collapsed in, 2008?
Well, that's what they call it. But I was working there, and there was you know how they were getting people together. That's how I could tell it was a Democratic Party. There were 8 half-naked women dressed as snowflakes.
What?
Dressing in Occidental.
What was going on in WAMU Theater this weekend? This is a Democrat thing or a strip show?
Well, they were pretending it was a rave, but to advertise it.
Okay. You had me there for a second, Paul.
One of the main guests was only wearing a sock inside.
Oh, dear. Well, okay. This is why I don't go downtown that much, is if I can avoid it. Appreciate the call, Paul. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. According to Como News, the National Weather Service in Seattle has issued a flash flood warning for west central King County following a breach of the Desmond levee along the Green River. King County.
You know what? That's okay, Ari, because I watched the presser with King County officials, and even with them, they were litigating the pronunciation amongst themselves.
Because nobody knew it was an actual levee. They just thought it was a street. They didn't realize it was holding back an entire river. That's something to be discussed later.
Yeah, this one I'll let you go on, because I don't have a solid answer myself.
All right, well, King County Executive Gourmet Zahale, which, by the way, apparently that's the correct pronunciation for that one, along with other officials, spoke about the conditions at the levee at a press conference earlier today. They say the levee was breached and caused flooding behind Rainier Industries. Although this was sudden and caused widespread concern, luckily nobody was injured. By the way, this is the miracle of all the flooding so far. So far, thank God, nobody has been killed or horribly injured during this entire thing. People are overall following evacuation orders. Now, I will remind you, it's going to take some time for them to fix this levee. So if you're getting evacuation orders, follow them. Do what you are supposed to be doing. Stay safe. Do not put yourself at risk. In fact, there's this crazy story Mike found over at Cairo 7 about a wastewater operator named Tyler Stiltner, who's being credited for saving the town of Carnation, Washington. Give a listen to this story because he stayed behind, stranded at the Carnation treatment plant during the atmospheric river flooding.
An unlikely hero now credited for saving the town of Carnation from some very dirty water. When wastewater operator Tyler Stiltner found himself stranded at the Carnation treatment plant earlier this week, surrounded by rising water and unable to leave, he became the only person that could keep the facility up and running. This, of course, earning him a shout-out from public officials.
A King County wastewater employee who became trapped inside one of our treatment facilities during flooding and continued working for days to keep critical plant operations running.
Stiltner was finally able to leave the plant early yesterday morning, but officials say his commitment protected the public health of millions of people.
So during the storm, he kept the facility operational and manually managed critical systems and responded to power issues while being cut off by rising waters. His dedication ensured that essential wastewater treatment continued for thousands of people. He worked alone for days. This is really, really incredible. Really an incredible story. But once again, if you are hearing these warnings, if you are getting these warnings, do not be a hero. Stuff can be replaced. You cannot be. Get to higher ground. Get to a safe evacuation area. Get to somewhere else because we worry about you. If you are leaving floodwaters, if you had to leave your home, if you lost anything, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Mike in Kirkland. Mike, what's up, man?
Hey, Ari, how you doing?
I'm doing just peachy. How are you?
After your recent call that accused you of being a lobbyist, I had to give you a call. You know, I could only think of one response to people like that. They must be required to sit in a room for an hour and watch the videos taken by the Hamas terrorists of the October 7th attack. Anyone that could sit there and watch what was done there in pure evil and still defend or support them, I can't buy it. I can't understand it.
It was a little bonkers crazy, that phone call. First of all, there's money for defending Israel. I've been doing it for free this whole time. If there's money available, I've been doing life wrong, my friend.
You need a new agent, Ari.
I need an agent to begin with. But I'll tell you is that something else, you're 100% right. Make people watch this thing. Do you know that anytime they show this thing publicly, there are massive protests? They don't want people watching it. Why do they tear down the hostage posters? Why do they want to say none of this stuff happened? Because, as Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, they can't handle the truth. Right, Mike?
Absolutely. I understand why people don't want to watch it. It's very disturbing. But if the only way to get these people to know that these were neighbors of Israel, and this is what they did, if you cannot call that evil and object to it, then I don't know what's I can't explain it.
You know, Holocaust deniers say, they say this, that the Jews control Hollywood. So they made all those videos of everything you saw in the concentration camps. The same lies are being said now. So Hamas went to all the trouble to live stream these atrocities, and then they blamed Israel of replicating it. There was a of making these videos. There was a Babylon Bee headline at the time. I remember that Hamas upset that they went to that nobody believes they live streamed the videos after they went to all the trouble to live stream them. I remember that. I remember that headline at the time because it was so laughable. Mike, appreciate your call. Appreciate you being part of the show.
Okay,
you want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. It looks like a lot of people don't like Jeff, who called in the last segment here. Text line's kind of full with all this. Oh, I do like this one. Dan says this. This is like watching Ben Shapiro smoking an indoctrinated grad student. Thank you. I'll take the compliment. Really do appreciate that. Holy cow. Insane stuff. Switching gears, today, President Donald Trump declared fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction in a new executive order. Here's what he said today.
Today, I'm taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year that we know of. So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
Now, what does this actually mean? If you call something a different name, does it mean anything real? What it means is you can free up a few more resources to deal with it. President Trump was talking to a lot of members of the U.S. military and law enforcement who are helping to secure the border today, and realizes that fentanyl has killed more Americans than I think anything else in our history, more than any disease, more than any virus. Fentanyl has killed that many Americans. It's about time we start taking it seriously. It's about time we actually have to deal with this kind of stuff appropriately. What does this actually mean is that it frees up resources so we can go after fentanyl, so we can attack fentanyl. It's still sick to me that the Democrats in power decided it was a good idea to allow all this stuff in the country. What? To make the drug dealers happy? Are they on the payroll? Or is it more about allowing the human trafficking so that way they'd have more voters? What was the reason to allow all this stuff into the country in the first place? We have some of the most lax drug laws and drug penalties in the world. In the world for possession. You know what you get in other countries? Doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what type of drug it is. If it is classified as a narcotic, you are going to jail for a very, very, very long time. When you're talking of hundreds of thousands of Americans dying every single year, this is the kind of stuff you need to address immediately. In fact, it wasn't just President Trump who said this. Biden said this as well.
For the first time, we are fighting and losing a war on our own soil. Let's go after the drug lords where they live with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it.
Joe Biden said that in 1989. You could tell because he sounds a little bit more with it at the time. Yes, Joe Biden said we should go after the narco-terrorists. He said that too. Joe Biden knew the difference between fishing boats and narco-terrorist boats. Yeah, you look at those boats, and anybody who knows anything about fishing and drug dealing, you don't even have to know anything about drug dealing. You just have to know about fishing. You could tell those are not fishing boats. And why are we not doing anything to stop the flow of fentanyl here into Washington? What, is somebody getting paid off by all this? Do we like having drugs on our streets? Do we like having the fentanyl fold everywhere? Hey, Bob Ferguson might be a little busy right now dealing with all the flooding. You know what's insane to me? Fergie, over the weekend, right before we went offline for the weekend, Fergie did a whole little thing on CNN, and he cannot give President Trump any credit whatsoever.
You mentioned in your opening that this could be a historic flood. It could break records. I'm just here to say it absolutely will not just be historic and break records, it'll shatter those records. So our message to folks who are receiving those orders today, literally as we speak, to evacuate, it's approaching 100,000 Washingtonians. Listen to the experts, listen to your local officials, and evacuate right away. It's a critical situation and truly historic in the more than 100 years we've been tracking our river systems.
You've already declared a state of emergency for the state, which opens up resources, but you're also hoping for a state of emergency from the federal government, from the Trump administration. How are those conversations going?
So we had an emergency meeting several hours ago with FEMA to make what we call an expedited request for emergency declaration. We've made that request. We've provided the information. I spoke to those officials directly. So we've reached out and made that request. The situation is dire. I want to be very clear about that. And so it's certainly our hope that the White House and the federal government moves quickly to make sure we get those resources.
He can't say the word Trump. We discussed this a little bit on Friday. Can't say the word Trump. He has to say the White House. You know, governors can call the president and get him on the phone. So did you not call President Trump, or you don't want to say his name? These were all the interviews he was doing over the last few days.
Hey everybody, Governor Bob Ferguson here in Mount Vernon. Look, we're facing what the federal government describes as a potentially catastrophic event with the potential for significant loss of life. So please follow those evacuation orders. Take care of yourselves. We're working hard. We're coordinating with agencies and tribes and governments all across the state and at the federal level. We do need that federal government to grant an emergency declaration. We're working hard on that. I'll be talking to FEMA here in a matter of hours. And take care of yourselves out there.
He needs the federal government. He can't even say Trump. Can't even bring himself to give him any credit whatsoever. So President Trump does sign the order. And then what does Fergie say right after that? What does he say?
I'll start. I'm going to be relatively brief in my comments, but I will start with an update on the call I received from Secretary Noem earlier today. I deeply appreciated her phone call, obviously. Deeply appreciated the granting of the emergency declaration at the state of Washington.
Hang on. Did you hear that? He thanked Secretary Noem for granting an emergency declaration for the state of Washington. Secretary of Department of Homeland Security doesn't have the authority to do that. There's somebody else who does that. Can you not bring yourself to say his name, that you had to say the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security is the one who signed that emergency declaration? Wasn't her, Bob. It was somebody else.
Has requested to help address the real crisis that we're facing. What I would say about that call was I think it's exactly the kind of call that people say Washington or American people would want between a cabinet member and a governor when there's a crisis like this. It's gracious. When she asked how we were doing here in Washington State, I just deeply appreciate the call and their support.
Can't say Trump's name. Can't even mention it. You know, normally a governor talks to a president when something like this is going on. We know they don't like each other, but normally they set aside partisan politics to talk about this. So why can't Ferguson talk to Trump? Is it he doesn't want to give him any credit because he signed the emergency declaration? Why do you think that Fergie won't mention Trump's name? My theory is because then he has to give President Trump credit for any federal assistance that Washington gets. And then the next question, any good reporter, but there's very few of them around anymore, would ask him is, would you like to say thank you to President Trump? Would you like to give him kudos in any way, shape, or form? Or how about this? The next time he criticizes him and said he's done nothing for Washington State, he's awful terrible, and one person goes, weren't you thankful for that emergency declaration you were begging him to sign? No, that was the federal government, not Donald Trump. Why do you think the Fergie won't say his name? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Craig in Puyallup says over on the text line about our previous caller, Jeff in Poulsbo, who apparently doesn't like Jews very much. Craig here says, if I convert to Judaism, can I shoot the space laser? Asking for a friend. Craig, we have a very strict schedule on who gets to fire the space laser and when. You can't just willy-nilly do that. Our entire World Zionist Council has to come together and decide who the appropriate target is. We have meetings, don't you know? That's when you get to fire the space laser. Hey, Ari, Steve from Shoreline here. Well, I believe Jeff from Poulsbo might want to stop listening to Maddow. That's a good one there. I do like that one. A lot of this. Oh, Big Mike. Here's a text from Richard for Big Mike. Did you intentionally let the guy from Poulsbo through so Ari could have a little fun? He's smiling. I see him smiling a little bit. Yes. Oh, here's one for you. Robin Lakewood. Ari, do listeners get some of that Jewish payoff? You get me every day, don't you know? Isn't that enough payoff for you? Wow. Unbelievable, that lunatic. Holy cow. He did enjoy it a little bit. Anyway. Getting back to the shooting in Bondi Beach, a lot of you are texting in about the video of the guy who disarmed the shooter and what you've seen. Now, let's remember, this guy who disarmed the shooter got two or three bullets in him because when he picked up the gun, I forget if he disarmed the father or the brother, but he disarmed one of them and then the other one started shooting at him. This guy may lose his arm over his heroic acts trying to stop the shooting. And a lot of you are saying, hey, why didn't he shoot the guy? Well, because Australia's laws on guns are so strict that if he had shot the guy, he might be the one who's getting punished right now rather than being hailed a hero. Here's something else. If law enforcement was actually doing their jobs and they see a guy with a gun, especially a guy of Muslim descent, and the ones who are the ones shooting up the thing are two Muslims, they might think he's another target. So he put it down on the ground. I actually think this guy was clear thinking regarding the law, maybe not very good situational awareness, or maybe really good situational awareness. Me personally, I understand the predicament he's in. He might end up being prosecuted for being the hero because Australia's gun laws are so absolutely insane. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. This weekend, Antifa targeted a signature gathering event for Let's Go Washington. We'll tell you what happened on Saturday when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app. And let me give you a bonus reason to download the KVI app today. We're having a KVI app exclusive ticket giveaway. Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics, August 18th at the White River Amphitheater. That's right. If you download the KVI app, you can enter to win a pair of tickets exclusively on the app. You cannot call in. You cannot email us. This is an app-only giveaway. So download the app for free in the Apple or Android stores and get your chance to get tickets for Toto at the White River Amphitheater on August 18th with Christopher Cross and the Romantics. Also, don't forget to subscribe to KVI's podcast, especially that for the Ari Hoffman Show. So, switching gears a little bit here. Remember where last we left our heroes? On Friday, we knew that the FBI had gotten chatter saying that Antifa was going to be targeting a Let's Go Washington signature event at a school in Tumwater. Now, this event was being put on by our friends over at Let's Go Washington to collect signatures for the two initiatives. One, to keep boys out of girls' sports, and the other one to continue to protect parents' rights here in Washington so that parents know what's going on with their kids' education. Well, over the weekend, on Thursday, Wednesday, leading up to this event, there started being a whole lot of online chatter about Antifa. Something that was even more disturbing about it was they were literally doxing the security guards who provide security for a lot of people you know, and Let's Go Washington, keeping all the signature gatherers and the people speaking at these events safe. Antifa was specifically targeting this event at a school. So the FBI informs Let's Go Washington, hey, guys, you may want to take your security very, very seriously. So what happens is our friend Brandy Cruz was going to be speaking at this event, along with some of the girls who were affected by boys competing in their sports. Now, kudos to these girls for standing up. We've said this time and time again, that these girls are standing up when Bob Ferguson is doing nothing to protect girls' sports. Talks about women and women's rights, but, never anything about girls' sports, right? Everybody laughed at him the last time he put up a post about women's rights. Then you've got Chris Rakedahl, creepy Chris Rakedahl. He says he's protecting the students, everybody's right to compete. Apparently not the girls who have awards and first-place finishes and scholarships being stolen from them. Nick Brown. Isn't he supposed to be the attorney general for all of us here in Washington? He's not fighting on behalf of us. So these girls have this speech, and Brandy Cruz is going to be speaking there as well. I think our friend Travis Couture also spoke at this event. You should have seen the response from law enforcement. The amount of police cars. I think Brandy got a video of all the police cars from different law enforcement agencies lined up at this event. That's what it takes to protect girls from Democrats. That's what it takes to protect teenage girls from Democrats. Tons and tons of law enforcement. Over 250 people came to support these girls, to support Let's Go Washington, to sign these initiatives. Now, there were a few rabble-rousers in the crowd. There was one guy who had this very professional-looking camera, probably using it to dox people. He got bounced from the room. There were a few others who didn't belong in the room. There are some questions about their identity. We have some people looking into it. We have some theories on who they may be. But you guys are afraid of a bunch of teenage girls? Really? That's what you're afraid of? A bunch of teenage girls who want to compete in sports without boys stealing their awards because they can't cut it in the boys division? Over 250 people gathered at the Michael T. Simmons Elementary School in Tumwater for a Let's Go Washington signature collecting event and rally that included a significant police presence after organizers were warned by the Federal Bureau of Investigation about threats coming from Antifa. Now, the Center Square covered this event and interviewed Brian Haywood, who said Antifa's goal is to threaten and intimidate Washington citizens into silence. Haywood said the organization has faced more than 50 documented physical assaults during its campaign, including a hit-and-run incident involving a person allegedly attempting to steal signatures. We covered that at the time when it happened. Something you got to think about here. Aren't the Democrats always the ones saying that Republicans are trying to subvert democracy, trying to undermine democracy? All these people are doing are collecting signatures. You know you guys can fight this at the ballot box? Well, there's something I got sent from one of our amazing, amazing people over at Let's Go Washington. It's an email that went out from the Washington Families for Freedom, a coalition of parents, teachers, students, and community members working to ensure every child in Washington can learn, grow, and feel safe in school. Doesn't that sound like a Republican group? Yeah, it's not. They did this purposely. We urgently need your help to take on extremist millionaire Brian Haywood, who is using out-of-state paid signature gatherers to promote 2 poorly written initiatives that will threaten the safety of every Washington student, putting some students at greater risk of abuse at home and at school through possible invasive genital exams. Excuse me, what? First of all, who are the ones who can't stop talking about sex in the schools? Oh, right, that's the Democrats. Second of all, do you know anytime a kid wants to play interscholastic sports, intramural sports at school, they have to get a letter from their doctor and they get a physical from their doctor? My kids have played sports before. My kids have gone to school before. My kids have gone to camp before. What is part of that physical exam? Right, making sure everything's okay downstairs, which is why you should all be talking to your doctor and your parents about these kind of things, not teachers. This email goes on to say they have been successful in disrupting it. They're taking credit for all this insanity. Hey, who's this thing paid for by? Because you got to do that. Washington Families for Freedom, top contributors, ACLU of Washington, Washington Education Association, the Gender Justice League. Mike, that sounds like a bad cartoon. The Gender Justice League? This is like Ace and Gary from the Ambiguously Gay Duo. That's what this sounds like to me. The Gender Justice League. So we just have Wonder Person, Super Person, Bat Person. That's our Aqua Person. That's our Gender Justice League. Oh, I feel a meme coming. I hope Matt Gilbert's listening right now. He's going to put this together in no time whatsoever. And then Pro-Choice Washington. So basically what you're saying is that Democrats are behind this insanity? That's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound like a coalition of teachers and parents and students. It sounds like a bunch of Democrat organizations are the ones actually behind all this, and we know that they are. Of course, the Washington Educational Association doesn't want you to know what they're teaching your kids because then they can't indoctrinate them anymore. ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, I thought you guys are supposed to fight for things like girls' sports. What, you guys done with that now? SEIU, oh, of course, the radical left stormtroopers who are union members. Great, fantastic. Yes, we know exactly what this is, guys. You're not fooling anybody. Now, if you still have these signature pages, you got to get them in right now. You got to get them back to Let's Go Washington. I know some of you are thinking, Ari, I have until January 1st. No, you don't. It takes time to process these things. People are going away for the holidays. You're going to forget. You're going to forget. Get them back to Let's Go Washington. Go to Let's Go Washington's website. See where you can drop these things off or mail them back and get it back right away. Even if your sheet is not completed and you say, I can get more, that's fine. But do it on a new sheet and get these signatures in right now. Paper, my friends, is guess what? A renewable resource. You can always get more paper. You can always plant more trees. Get the signatures you have back right now. Go to Let's Go Washington's website to find out where you can do that. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up, man?
I just wanted to weigh in on the police there doing their job. That was wonderful because September 24th in 1957, we needed to bring in the 101st Airborne by the order of a Republican president because the Democrats wouldn't let some girls go to school in Little Rock, Arkansas. Just wanted to point that out.
A little historical stuff. Yes. It seems like this is something that has happened throughout history. Democrats are just resorting back to their roots, don't you know? This seems very par for the course for them. Ron, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, the hunt is still on for the suspect or the shooter at Brown University. I'll tell you all the latest on why the media refuses to talk about any of the specific details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just to remind you about our KVI app exclusive ticket giveaway. That's right, my friends. You should download the KVI app right now on your phone because it's the only way to enter our latest giveaway to win tickets to Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics August 18th at the White River Amphitheater. The app is free to download in the Apple Store or Android App Store. Download them right away. Get your tickets for Toto at the White River Amphitheater on August 18th with Christopher Cross and the Romantics. This is your chance to get them for free. Download the KVI app right now. Make sure you do it. So, right now, you have authorities in Rhode Island are still saying Providence is safe, despite having no suspect in the Brown University shooting. Now, they apprehended a guy, but they let him go. And I got to say, when you hear about these kind of stories, you kind of have assumptions about who the person is. And when I heard the person's name, I go, that doesn't sound right. What do we know about the shooting so far? We know one of the victims was a member of the Brown University College Republicans. It was, in fact, their vice president, Ella Cook. J.D. Vance wrote, this beautiful young girl was one of the murdered students at Brown University. It takes special courage to lead an organization of conservatives on a left-wing campus. And I'm very sorry our country has lost one of its bright young stars. Eternal rest grant unto her, O Lord. So they targeted this girl? Did they target a meeting she was going to? First of all, a shooting over the weekend at a school is an odd thing. Why? How many kids go to class over the weekend? Was it a class? Was it a club? Was it students getting together to organize something? We don't know enough at this point. We know which teacher's classroom it was. We know what the class was supposed to be, and yet Brown University won't give us a whole lot of the details. Why do you think that is? Could it be because they're a left-wing university in a left-wing city in a left-wing state, and they know the second the details become public, everybody's going to say, see, told you so? Is it going to be, well, person's a certain religion or person's a certain ideology? They don't want to talk about it at all. Attorney General Peter Nerona reiterated that we have a murderer out there. Frankly, we're not going to give away the game plan, but the fact of the matter is law enforcement has the tools necessary to solve this case, but we're 36 hours out. Okay, so tell us what the motivation was, something, maybe be on the lookout for, give us a description, something. Despite having released a person of interest and having no suspect in the case, Providence Mayor Brett Smiley said the status of safety in our community remains unchanged, and we believe that you remain safe in our community. There's a murdering suspect on the loose. How can anybody be safe in your community? What the hell are you talking about? You have a murderer on the loose. Here's what the president said.
Before we begin, however, I want to just pay my respects to the people. Unfortunately, 2 are no longer with us. Brown University, 9 injured, and 2 are looking down on us right now from heaven. And likewise in Australia, as you know, that was a terrible attack, 11 dead, 29 badly wounded. And that was an anti-Semitic attack, obviously. And I just want to pay my respects to everybody.
This is a terrible, terrible tragedy, and yet Brown University won't give us any information. The only surveillance footage authorities have given anybody shows the shooter from behind. And we know that this campus just got a major security upgrade, which included cameras. This is like UW all over again, Mike. When they built that brand new engineering building, and then the Hamasniks and the Antifa types broke in, causing over $1 million worth of damage. And what do we keep hearing? We don't know who they are. We don't have any cameras. You're telling me there weren't any cameras on your brand new building? I have trouble believing that. Now they're saying if we had video, you'd have it. If there was a piece of video we could show you a face of and say this person of interest or suspect, you'd have it. I don't believe you. I really don't. How can you say we're safe? Because, guys, your investigation, I'm sure you got witness testimony. I'm sure you have information you're not releasing. But if you have video footage, shouldn't everybody be on the lookout for this murderer? Shouldn't everybody be looking out for something like this? Isn't there some kind of description? How can you possibly say people are safe when there's a murderer on the loose? Were they specifically targeting this girl because it was a love interest or a psychotic obsession or something like that? But when you have a murderer on the loose, your town is not safe. What else did this guy know? Nerona, what did he say? Collectively, the team developed a lead in a number of areas. One was chased to the ground. It led us to detaining a person of interest. And so those words and how we choose those words when we're talking about investigation matter. And what it means here is certainly that some degree of evidence that pointed us to this individual, but that evidence needed to be corroborated and confirmed. And over the last 24 hours leading to it, just very, very recently, the evidence now points in a different direction. So what that means is this person of interest needs to be released. And I think what's really unfortunate is this person's name was leaked to the public. Okay, fair thing. Fair thing. It's like a Richard Jewell situation with the Olympics all over again. Totally understand that. You don't want the wrong person being tarred and feathered in the media for this shooting. But how can you say everybody's safe? Instead, it should be see something, say something. I know you don't want panic. I know you want everybody to stay calm. But instead, you just sound like a moron when you say everybody's safe and there's a murderer on the loose in your community. Also, when you're not giving us very much to go on, I understand you want to apprehend the suspect. I understand you don't want them running away. They already ran away. I understand that you're not going to tell us everything, but saying everybody's safe, that's just crazy. Speaking of crazy, by the way, one of our local higher education institutions is in the news, and when we come back, some insane audio showing why you should never send your child to this educational institution. We'll tell you which one it is and what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. This is a video that is making the rounds from our very own Western Washington University in Bellingham. It is the same girl, I believe, talking to herself, where she's playing two different characters. Now, this person looks exactly how you'd expect them to be. They're making a video of themselves and they're wearing a mask. Let's just do that. They also are wearing so many layers of clothing, they look like the episode of Friends where Joey is wearing everything Chandler owns. It's a look. It's a look. Shall we just say this is about to go exactly how you'd expect it to go. Give a listen. This is your intersectional experience coordinator at Western Washington University in Bellingham.
Hi everyone, I'm Sol. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Intersectional Experiences Coordinator with LGBTQ plus Western. Have you been curious to know what we can do for you, but have maybe been a little bit too nervous to come into our office? Well, here's a couple things that you can come ask us about.
Hey, I'm a new student, and I'm wondering what LGBTQ plus resources you have.
Yeah, come on in.
Hey, I'm having a really hard day, and I just need someone to talk to.
Yeah, come on in.
I'd love to have some company right now. Can I come in and do my homework?
Yeah, come on in.
My outfit's making me feel really euphoric, and I just want to share this moment with someone.
Yeah, come on in.
I'm trying to find a resource on campus, and I don't know where to start.
Yeah, come on in.
Can I tell you a joke about two little gay moose?
Yeah, your tax dollars pay for that. Your tax dollars are paying for that insanity at Western Washington University. That's what your tax dollars are going towards. This is what they are funding. Somebody was asking me last night, Ari, why do you think enrollment in public schools and on these kinds of colleges is going down? And I said, well, we never recovered the learning loss from COVID. Never recovered it at all. Think about it. Washington State was locked down more than anybody else, I think more than Los Angeles. I think we were the second to last place to reopen. So they didn't get much of an education. And then rather than filling in the learning loss, what did they decide to do? Oh, let's increase the DEI stuff. Does it actually teach you anything? No, it just tells you you're a huge Nazi, a huge racist, because of whatever pigmentation of your skin, because of how much melanin is in your skin. You're a huge racist. Oh, you can't be racist because you're a different color. That's what this DEI insanity is all about. This one here from the Post-Millennial, the Kentucky House held an interim joint committee on education during which State Senator Lindsey Tishner of District 6 presented arguments against the use of diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in the state. Many of her fellow lawmakers took issue of the bill, most notably Representative Sarah Stalker, that makes sense, who, like the others, didn't seem to comprehend the points Tishner was making. Tishner said that no child should be made to feel bad about themselves based on the skin color and that educational programming that does not result in academic achievement, but is rooted in divisive ideology is not worth spending money on. Quote, I think we're missing an incredible opportunity right now, Stalker said. I'm going to be honest, I don't feel good about being white every day for a lot of reasons, because it's a point of privilege that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members in the community don't get the privilege to do. And I'm just female, just a woman, a white woman. If I was a white man, I'd be functioning from a point of even greater privilege. Yes, tell me about my great privilege as a white man. It reminds me of that old Eddie Murphy skit on Saturday Night Live where he dresses up as a white guy and goes to the store. And he goes, I'd like to buy this newspaper. And they go, no, just take it. It's fine. Truly, this is all a mental illness. Really, really is. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from John in Issaquah. John, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, how are you?
Peachy, how are you?
Well, Hey, so two things. Over here in the city of Issaquah, they set up a menorah in downtown Issaquah.
Oh, that's nice.
And on the first night, and I'm not Jewish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyways,
yeah,
I know enough about Judaism that and the first night, the star on the far right was lit, not the tall one in the middle.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, that's not right. And then the next night, all of them were lit. And when I went by, because then last night they had some Hanukkah celebration with the rabbi over there.
Yeah.
And I was telling him, I said, hey, the first night of Hanukkah, the wrong candle was lit. And then the second night, all of them were lit. And it's like, did you not consult the Jew before you did this?
It's like when they get things wrong in movies, and I go, you couldn't find a Jew in Hollywood to ask this question to? You couldn't find anybody?
Right.
Yeah, so you're saying the city
But
set this
when
up?
they virtue signaled and raised the woke pride flag over the city of Issaquah, they got that done, with no problems at all.
Yeah, I'm sure they were just testing the menorah, right? So just to educate everybody on how they should look. So every night you add a candle. Okay, you start from the right,
And
you
light
go
it
to the
with
left.
The tall one in the middle, right?
Well, the tall one in the middle technically doesn't have a purpose. Technically, the tall one in the middle is just for lighting the other candles. So that's what that one's for. There's 8 nights and there's 9 candles. So the one in the middle, if it's not lit, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it does look a little off. Now, you put the candles in. Hang on, let me make sure I got this right. You put the candles in right to left. You light them left to right. Good, got that right. Okay, good. School education paying off. But yes, so there should be 2 tonight because it's the second night of Hanukkah. That's what you should be seeing out there.
I think they just quit lighting them because I don't think they could get it right. Yeah. Because now they're not lit at all.
Okay, in their defense, I'll tell you this. We have an electric menorah at the synagogue that's just for the holiday. It's a massive decoration. For me, every night I would go down there and make sure each one was on every night. And then I'm like, this is exhausting. I'm just going to put them all on for all nights, and everybody knows it's a Hanukkah decoration. Okay. But yeah, what you're going to see tonight, there's a lot of Hanukkah events around Seattle, and you're going to see Chabad, which is an organization that typically does the menorah stuff. You're going to see them lighting these things all over the neighborhood. But John, appreciate the call. I'm definitely telling this story to a friend of mine. Yeah.
I got on because they told me my wife is a green card holder, right?
Yeah.
And I tried to call you last week when you have something going on there, but they send her a ballot for every single election that's coming, like anything. And so she said, can I vote? I said, no, it's illegal for you to vote. You're not a citizen. And so she called the election headquarters down on Grady Way, and some nice gal down there said, oh, that doesn't matter. You just fill that out and put it in the mail.
What? All right, John, do me a favor. Do me a favor. If you feel comfortable talking about this a little bit more, I'm giving you my email address right now. arikvi.com.
Email address.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got your email address.
I want to put you in touch with somebody in particular, okay? Do me a favor. Just email me a reminder, and I'll make that connection tonight, okay?
Cool.
All right. Thanks,
Happy
John.
Hanukkah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy New Year to you, sir. When we come back, speaking of illegal immigration, got another illegal alien trucker who was released by Bob Ferguson after killing somebody. I'll tell you what happened when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, friend Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center will be calling to tell us why our taxes haven't stopped all the flooding from climate change, as promised by the Democrats. Speaking of the flooding, by the way, if you live in the Tukwila area, please make sure you are listening to all the recommendations of government officials, not to cover your face, but I mean to actually get out of the area because we have some serious floodwaters heading your way if it's not there already. Please make sure you are following all the directions. For those of you who are outside the Washington area and don't know how bad it is here, Mike found this story from King 5 News. Looters in kayaks are now targeting a flooded Snohomish farm as the flooding continues. Marsh Road in Snohomish has become an unlikely attraction, drawing neighbors and curious strangers to witness a route that people never expected to see underwater. The Snohomish River, normally about 6 miles away, has transformed a peaceful rural road into a flooded waterway. But it's not all peaceful. The flooding has submerged the road under an estimated 20 to 30 feet of water in some areas. The Snohomish Country Golf Center and multiple family farms are now completely underwater. But the rising waters have brought more than sightseers. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office said looters are using kayaks to steal from flooded properties. I got a question, though. What are you stealing from a flooded property in a kayak? Isn't whatever you're taking already waterlogged? They said people are coming in from all over the area. Just take advantage of these people. Can't get their properties right now. It's just heartbreaking, said Reva Bernhardt, whose home borders the flooded area. Bernhardt said that onlookers even climbed on the roof of her and her husband, Michael Urich, to get a look at the historic flood. Then came the thieves. They were taking stuff from trailers and boats with motors on them. Deputies said looters navigated to flooded Franklin Farms, though the stolen property was later recovered. Next to Barnhart and Urich's home, furniture and animals from the farm are safely being stored on a neighbor's property where the water has stayed out so far, but residents fear that they may not be the last. Don't forget, my friends, there's another storm coming. I know we just saw a sunset for the first time in a few days, but there is another storm on the way. So if you are getting evacuation orders, just take it as an opportunity for an unscheduled vacation. Stuff can be replaced. You cannot be replaced, okay? You have insurance. And cops are apparently watching after some of these properties. So, my friends, get out while you can. Do not be stuck behind in the bad weather. Do not be stuck behind. You are more valuable. It's miracle upon miracles that no lives have been lost so far. Get out while you can of that Tukwila area flooding. Make sure to check with local officials and the National Weather Service to see if you are one of the people affected. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Stilgar in Renton. Stilgar, what's going on?
Well, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So a number of things, the Rob Reiner thing, this anti-Semitic stuff that seems to be cropping up again, and the Hanukkah and all of that caused me to think about a wonderful documentary that I don't know if you're familiar with called G.I. Jews.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's about the Jews that served in World War II.
It is. It features Carl Reiner.
Mm-hmm.
And just some amazing men and some women, obviously, and then just I'm getting verklempt myself thinking about some of the more touching moments in the film.
Let me cut you off for a second here, Stilgar. Sure. So this movie I actually saw. They premiered it at the Museum of Flight here in Seattle for people to watch locally. And I think this is long before I had a radio show. I think this was before COVID even this thing came out. But Mel Brooks is heavily featured in this because everybody forgets that Mel Brooks served in the Army. And there's a lot of other people who you will recognize if you go see this. Even if you're not Jewish, I highly recommend you watch this thing. It's a great documentary. It really, really is. And actually, I mentioned Carl Reiner makes me think of Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner directed a movie that I think is one of the most Jewish movies I've ever seen without mentioning the word Jewish at all. It's a movie called Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks, the voice of Nemo's father in Finding Nemo. A comedian. We all know Albert Brooks if you're of a certain age, but for those of you who are younger, it's Nemo's father. And what it is what happens, it's him and Meryl Streep. You go up to heaven. What happens when you go up to heaven and how you're judged for what you did in life. It is one of the most Jewish movies I've ever seen and never mentions Jewish at all. It is truly what the Jews believe about the afterlife. Maybe not the pies and the Hall of Past Lives. Well, there is a little bit about resurrection of the soul in Judaism, but it is one of the most Jewish movies I've ever seen and one of my favorite Rob Reiner movies.
Interesting. But yeah, that if you're leaning anti-Semitic, I think GI Jews will kill you.
You mean like our previous caller today, Jeff from Polsbo?
I don't know. He may be beyond. But,
somebody actually said
on the bubble.
Somebody said you're right. Somebody said on the text line that our frenemy Bennett, the protester who calls, irritates them, but at least he's respectful when he calls. And with his claims, he backs him up with the sources he has. And that's actually a credit to Bennett. Bennett calls all the time, knowing we're going to argue, knowing we're going to disagree. But that's a credit to him because we keep letting him on the show. We let Jeff on the show, and automatically I'm a member of the Jewish lobby who has taken money to hide the genocide. That one, crazy stuff. I'll give you the last word, Stilgar, then I got to run.
Well, you got to light 2 space lasers tonight. I think that's the way I go.
No. Technically 3. You need 1 space laser to light the other 2 space lasers. So that's a grand total of 3 for tonight. Yes. And then we carve a dreidel and crop circles out in people's fields. You can see it there yourself. Stilgar, appreciate the call. Appreciate the humor. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Larry texted this in just now. Levee breach, he says, for King County, this is an area we've been watching. Mount Vernon didn't wait. They put up a levee just in case. They put up a levee just in case. So they put up one of those temporary dams. King County failed. Grade D for didn't care. Mike, can you remind me after the show to check into that, by the way, and actually find that out? Larry, if you have any sources for that, please send it to me, arikvi.com. That's arikvi.com. I will admit I don't know enough about levee engineering. Just because I saw what happened with the hurricane out there in New Orleans and stuff doesn't mean I know a lot about this, but I know there are temporary dams they bring in these situations. I don't know about Mount Vernon versus King County, but I definitely want to check that out.
Well, all I know, Ari, from watching on TV is I saw a lot of news reports on all the major networks locally, and you could see that the levee in Mount Vernon was basically like a wall with basically like a giant piston rod kind of holding it up. I saw no such thing on the Green River.
So I will say this, is that I was kind of surprised. When they say levees, I think New Orleans, I think dams, I think levee system that the Army Corps of Engineers did. These must be ones that they did it with dirt. They did it with dirt. They did it with roads. Maybe some concrete mixed in there. This is something, okay, Mike, my homework's cut out for me tonight.
Sure.
After my dreidel spinning and menorah lighting tonight, I get to learn about levee engineering. And what it means by a natural levee, by an artificial levee. Is it one that's done with dirt? Is it one that's done with concrete? If anybody from the Army Corps of Engineers is listening to the show, your instruction in this could be helpful today. So please give us a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
Well, Ari, I don't want to say this too terribly loud given what's happened, but as most listeners know, I live in the area.
Yeah.
And, the Green River is by Tukwila. It's like we cross the river often.
Sure.
And we have, because of the holidays, we've made many trips to the Tukwila, Kent area. Crossed the Green River a couple times. And every time we go across a crossing, we look over and it's like, that's it's getting a little high there. And so
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry.
Me neither. I mean but me and my wife are sitting in the car and it's just like, yeah. That's kind of going up on the trail because there's nature trails and bike trails and things like that run along the river. And it's like, it's like we were over by Home Depot and it's just like, that's getting close to those illegals. I mean, day workers they're just kind of hanging out there. Maybe they'll be okay.
Yeah, getting a little high, something to worry about. My brother and sister-in-law, they live in New York and Long Island, and their neighborhood was flooded when they drained the runways at JFK after Hurricane Sandy. It came into their neighborhood. Their house happens to be a little bit more up. It flooded the rest of the neighborhood. It was crazy how much the water went, where it went. There were fish in the street. I have seen how this shakes out, guys. Do you know, for anybody who's been to New Orleans after Katrina, if you go there, it's a badge of honor for who survived the flooding and how high the water was. You see these marks that people have with little plaques talking about, this is how high the water was, and we rebuilt, and we came back from that. Guys, what's happening in Washington is no joke. It's really no joke. So, Larry, if you have that information, please email it to me, ari@kvi.com. But this means I need to go get some investigating done tonight. Oh, looks like we got some fun coming in right now. Got some breaking news for you.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Katie Wilson posted something over to her social media account, a tragedy that she is weighing in on. Is it the shooting in Australia? No. Is it the shooting at Brown University? No. Is it the floodwaters? No. What's she weighing in on? Ready? Here we go. Mayor-elect Wilson's statement on the death of a cyclist on Beacon Avenue South. Okay, you know what? It's local. I understand you don't want to weigh in on national. That's fine. That's fine. National, international, that's fine. I've criticized people for doing that before. That's fine. A cyclist dies. This is no small thing. Let's look into this. Early Sunday morning, a truck driver struck and killed 38-year-old named Allie, who was biking across Beacon Avenue South. The driver fled the scene. As a lifelong cyclist who's had my share of close calls, my heart goes out to Allie's family and friends. While we don't know yet all the details of this tragedy, we do know that we can save lives through better street design, making our streets safer, especially for the most vulnerable road users. People walking, biking, and rolling will be a high priority for my administration, #Vision Zero. Okay, where do I start with this mess? Let's start with the dumb hashtag first. Vision Zero is a plan that was put in place to protect cyclists and joggers and walkers and pedestrians and rollers. I think we mean rollers differently. When she says rollers, I don't roll on Shabbos coming into my mind, right? But okay, rollers. You mean roller skaters. You mean rollerbladers. Sure. Vision Zero.
Sure, it's pitch black dark outside. I'm going to get out on my rollerblades like I'm in the Barbie movie or something.
No. It's a flood. I'm going to get out my rollerblades and go down the street right now.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Freaking roller derby over here. Yeah. Okay, Katie Wilson.
Where's the Rat City Roller Girls? Let's go to one of their things. Okay.
# I'm a vapid twit.
# Rat City. # Roller Girls. Okay. Vision Zero, since it's been implemented, has led to more deaths. You want to own that? Okay, Mike, Vision Zero, that is now Katie Wilson's. We're going with that from now on. Okay, here's something else, by the way. A truck driver killed a 38-year-old. Interesting you weigh in on that, of all things. What have we been talking about for the last 2-3 weeks at this point? Illegal alien truck drivers who have been causing fatal traffic. I'm not even going to call them accidents. I'm going to call them events or incidents. They're not accidents. These illegal aliens never should have been on the road. And do you know what happened over the weekend? Let's go back to where we left our heroes. On Friday, Ari and Big Mike were talking on KVI about an illegal alien. Oh, no, we didn't know he was an illegal alien yet. We assumed he was an illegal alien. What do we know about a trucker who had not stopped for stopped traffic? It wasn't even like moving traffic, and you just miscalculated. On SR 167 out in Auburn, everybody was stopped. There was a truck, there was a car. This other truck keeps on coming, plows into the car, goes on over the car, crushes it, shoves it under the truck in front of him, and it catches fire, and the guy is dead on impact. Dead on impact. That's it. So we assume, as soon as we find out this guy's name, that he's an illegal alien. We find this out, as Mike would say, with the quickness. And we say, of course this guy is an illegal alien, but we didn't know that for a fact. Oh, my friends, it got so much worse over the weekend. What do we find out about this guy? Not only was he an illegal alien, but he was released into the country under the Biden administration. Catch and release. And then ICE filed an immigration detainer on this guy at the King County Jail. And instead, some King County judge held him on a $100,000 bond. Somebody bonded him out, and now he's released. He killed somebody. An ICE detainer was filed. And King County wouldn't honor it. A judge wouldn't honor it. Mike, I think I have some more homework to do tonight. You know what I'm going to find out about Katie Wilson's little traffic accident? We're going to do a little sniffing and snooping with our friends over at the Seattle Police Department. And we're going to find out if they have a suspect in mind, if they have a license plate number. What if this was another illegal alien trucker that killed this person? Do you think Katie Wilson's going to comment on that? Do you think she's going to mention that at all in any way, shape, or form? My guess is probably not. Probably.
How about no?
Exactly. Oh, you know what else Katie Wilson was up to? Mike, you might have to switch from Sawant Watch to Katie Watch or something. We might have to come up with something else for Katie. I don't know what. Katie Watch doesn't work. We need something better than that. You got a look on your face.
No, I'm just pondering it because she's such a vapid twit, Ari.
Vapid twit watch.
I can't. Such a dingling. Freaking avocado toast millennials over here. Get them away from me.
Yes, that's exactly what she is.
I know that J.D. Vance is in that same age group. I know, but I don't care. I'll still do some casual ageism here on the Ari Hoffman Show.
She's close to my age. It's not an age thing. She's just a dum-dum. I'm okay. I'm pretty smart just because I'm barely that demographic we don't like to talk about on air, and I will not admit the new name they gave for my specific demographic. We're not using that term ever. She's a year younger than me, Mike. She's just a moron. So what was the moron doing this weekend? She flew to Boston. What was she doing? She was shipping up to Boston. What was she doing there? Meeting with Mayor Michelle Wu. Why was she meeting with her? Well, were they discussing that they don't like Jews, or were they discussing that they want more illegal aliens in the country? I don't know which one they were looking at. What are you going to learn from Michelle Wu? Here's how you avoid a federal investigation. Here's how you deal with a federal investigation. Are you kidding me with this? Really? Give me a break. Her social media is fun to watch. It really, really is. Why? Because her people are smart enough to know that whatever they put out in a press release, because she's the incoming mayor-elect, the media will print. So because Bruce Harrell's MIA, we haven't heard anything from that dude since he said he was going to start his rap career as Master B. Russi. Since he's gone, there's a gap. There's a vacuum. And Katie Wilson's team, it's not her because she's a vapid twit, Katie Wilson's team has realized they can fill that gap by just issuing press releases, and the media will cover it. This is what you get for absence of leadership. You get Katie Wilson. So anytime she puts out a press release, people cover it. But our media is only covering the press releases itself. For example, Katie Wilson put out a statement yesterday. I was horrified to hear about the anti-Semitic attack on the Hanukkah celebration in Sydney, and I grieve for the victims, their families, and their communities. It is devastating to know that someone could be so full of hatred they carry out such a vile attack on a peaceful celebration. I know these kinds of events can reverberate here at home too, so I also want to offer my support and solidarity with Seattle's Jewish community. Interesting, because you're the one who took the side of Hamas during all the insanity of the past 2 years. She writes this: as we celebrate the first night of Hanukkah, I'm committed to doing everything possible to ensure the Jewish Seattleites know they are valued, cherished, safe, welcome, and never alone in our city. Really? Does somebody need to tell you where the story of Hanukkah actually happened? It happened in Israel. Israel, people fighting back, Jews fighting back against a bunch of invaders. You took the side of the invaders. You took the side of Hamas. You took the side of Gaza. But is any journalist around here actually going to call her on any of this? No, of course not, because that would require you to do a little bit more research than just the press release itself. God, our media sucks. Beyond terrible. They can't. A simple question. Just go over to her Twitter, type in the word Israel, Gaza, Palestine. You'll find all this stuff in 2 seconds. Or how about this cyclist business? How about somebody ask her, hey, how about the truck driver that killed the guy on State Route 167? You have anything to say about that? Because you have stuff to say about Sydney. This thing happened a lot closer to home. You have anything to say about that? No, she won't weigh in. I'm going to make it my personal mission to find out who this truck driver was, because there should be justice for the cyclist. But also, I'll bet my dollars to donuts, and yes, I'm saying donuts because it's Hanukkah, that we find out something about this trucker that Katie Wilson won't like, and then we'll reach out to her office for comment. I think everybody will enjoy that a little bit. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues, including more with regard to the fraud found in Minnesota. Apparently, they were blackmailing officials by telling them they called them racist if they exposed it. I'll tell you what's going on when we come back, but first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to download the KVI app so you can be entered in our latest contest. That's right, KVI app exclusive ticket giveaway. If you download the KVI app, you can enter to win a pair of tickets to Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics, August 18th at the White River Amphitheater. You can only do this on the app. You cannot do this by calling us. You cannot do this by texting us. You can only do it on the app. So download the KVI app for free in the Apple or Android app stores, and you can you can enter to win tickets to see Toto with Christopher Cross and the Romantics August 18th at the White River Amphitheater. Get your tickets now for the concert. That's right, my friends. Well, switching gears for a second, people are asking how the Minnesota fraud went on so long without anybody detecting the thing. Turns out plenty of people did detect the thing, but they were kind of being blackmailed. I'm not sure blackmailed is the right term. Maybe threaten's the right term. According to Fox News, in the aftermath of the massive Feeding Our Future scandal and broader allegations of systemic fraud in Minnesota social programs, a troubling theme has emerged. Accusations of racism repeatedly used to deflect scrutiny, intimidate investigators, and stall accountability. Rumors and reports of fraud in Minneapolis, primarily within the city's exploding Somali community, have been circulating for at least a decade, but critics of the fraud have been largely dismissed by elected Democrats as racist or being underpinned by animosity towards foreigners. News stories focused on Somali fraudsters in recent years were shot down as racist. Mike, what do you think would happen if I found a massive amount of fraud in the Somali community here in South Seattle? Immediately would be, Ari Hoffman's a white racist. Ari Hoffman's a white supremacist. He's a member of the Israel lobby. He's committing genocide against brown people. He's the Zionist aggressor. And nobody would want to actually look into the fraud. In fact, we know from various government agencies here in Seattle, like the Seattle Public Schools, they released a statement on the Somali fraud in Minnesota. How does that impact you guys? Why are we talking about that? It's completely irrelevant to Seattle Public Schools. Is there a Somali community here? Sure. There's also a Jewish community. Didn't see you guys put out any statements after October 7th. Oh, wait, you did. But you equated everything with Islamophobia. So, just making sure we're all on the same page here. Basically, what they said was, we're going to accuse you of being racist, or you are a racist for saying this. People of color don't commit crimes. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Tarib, who helped take on federal prosecutions in the Feeding Our Future case, described to Fox News how individuals implicated in the fraud leaned on racial accusations as a shield. According to him, suspects explicitly invoked race during secretly recorded meetings with Attorney General Keith Ellison, asserting that investigators were targeting them only because of race. So what do you think? Is this case of a whole bunch of Democrats being so open-minded their brains fall out, or was this not a bug but a feature? Or they said, if we ever get caught, we'll just call everybody racist, and they'll stop investigating what's going on. Give us a call or text, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, Todd Myers from the Washington Policy Center is going to tell me why all that tax money I've given Washington State hasn't stopped the floodwaters that are being caused by climate change. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I was told that if a whole bunch of my tax dollars were collected by Washington State, it would stop climate change, and it would specifically stop things like flooding. Now, the Seattle Times says that these floods are being caused by climate change, and they said that the tax dollars were going to stop them, so how come there's a whole bunch of water everywhere? Joining us now to discuss, author of Time to Think Small, advocate of environmental innovation, Vice President of Research for the Washington Policy Center, the one, the only, Todd Myers. Welcome back to the show, my man.
Thank you very much. Now I have to live up to that introduction.
Well, yesterday we had the Mariner Moose at a Hanukkah event, so I got kind of stuck in just doing the introductions like a baseball announcer. So, yeah, I figured since I have a Mariners fan coming on the show, I should probably give you the baseball walk-up announcement. All right, Todd, why aren't my tax dollars stopping the floodwaters?
Well, I think it's very unlikely that we are going to be able to do enough in terms of reducing CO2 or anything else to change the weather, certainly before the end of the century. But we were promised that adopting the Climate Commitment Act, the CO2 tax, would mitigate the impact of flooding that people argue is caused by climate change. Now, I don't want to argue. I think that there is some evidence that I will say warmer air carries more water, and more water means more rain. We know that. And so therefore it could lead to more flooding. How much more, I think I will let other people debate. But if you want to mitigate that, then you need to spend money on things that actually reduce the risk of floods and the impact of floods. And when you look at the first 2 years, more than $1.5 billion that we've already spent of the CO2 tax money, only $7 million went to address flooding and deal with the impacts of flooding, and much, if not most of that, went to staffing and planning. So even the money that we are spending is not reducing the risk. So the flooding that we've had is really incredible, really awful, and it will be used as a justification for more climate action, even as the money that we already have is not being spent to reduce these kind of harms.
You know, Todd, you might know a little bit more about this than I do. We had a caller or a texter text into the show earlier today talking about how Mount Vernon brought in basically these walls to shore up levee systems that they have up in Mount Vernon. Here in King County, it just looks like a dirt road they're calling a levee, and it looks like it was eroded by the waters and washed away. Now, they said they were monitoring this thing, but then why didn't they bring in things to secure it? Do you know anything about this? Do you think this is a failure of King County? If we're talking about mitigating the effects of climate change, shouldn't we have shored up some of those levees if they were so worried about floods, which they claim they were?
I'm not familiar with this issue. We have so many infrastructure problems, and frankly, there are a lot of levees and a lot of places that probably could be shored up. So it may simply be a situation where you have more potential problems than you can deal with. But that is just another reason that what you have to do is make sure that the money you spent is spent well, and that you have to prioritize it. The Climate Commitment Act, when it was passed in 2001, specifically mentions flooding in the preamble as something that they are going to address using this money. And like I said, that 0.5% of the money that we have spent so far has been on flooding. So then I started to look also at what else we've spent money on that's sort of frivolous, because I knew that there would be something more than $7 million rather. And one of the things that I found, not the only one, but one of the things I found is that over the last 2 years, we have spent $15 million on bicycle education for elementary and middle school students using CO2 tax money. So we have spent more than twice as much on bicycle education from CO2 taxes than we have on mitigating the impacts of flooding.
This doesn't surprise me at all. I remember when Marco Leos was pushing all this bicycle nonsense, and I did the math, and you could buy every kid in Washington a bicycle and have millions of dollars left over. And I was trying to figure out exactly what the money's going towards, especially since, Todd, you've got kids. I assume you taught them to ride the bicycle, not the state, right? Do we now need the state to teach our kids to ride bicycles?
Well, there's another aspect of this, and this also will not surprise you, which is that at least some of that money went to the Cascade Bicycle Club, which is a progressive organization that lobbies very hard for, sort of the left-wing policies. And supports the people who are voting on these budgets. So not only does it go to something that is silly, it also goes to a political ally to spend it. So, yeah, there's a lot of spending. We're going to hear in the next legislative session, which starts next month, that, we have to raise taxes because there are no cuts available. Examples like this show that that's clearly not the case.
Well, also, and I hate that this is so on the nose, didn't we use up most of our rainy day fund? Wouldn't it have been good to have the rainy day fund for a rainy day which caused this mess? I think that a little bit better budgeting may have been in order, right?
That's absolutely true. We have massively increased spending above the rate of inflation and population over the past several biennia. And so now we are in a position where even after you pass the largest tax increase in state history, even when you have $1.5 billion in CO2 tax money, spent already and more on the way, you still are talking about having to raise taxes even more to keep up with the spending at the same time that you look around and say, where's the money going? We have serious flooding. Obviously, we're not addressing it.
Yeah, obviously not. Now, Todd, the Washington Policy Center sent out a list compiled by you of some of the other things we're wasting money on. None of them sound like they're actually doing anything to combat climate change. Why don't you give us a few others from this wish list of fun here?
Yeah, well, so there was another one with regard to, that we're spending more money on than flooding. We're also spending money on a hydrogen hub. Now, this was supposed to be part of a federal program to create hydrogen as an alternative fuel. Well, the federal government this year in the budget, Congress, killed the hydrogen hub program. So now we have committed money to spending on a hydrogen hub that probably won't exist. Of course, we've also spent huge amounts of money on the beginning, and it's just the beginning of converting ferries to electric. That's going to cost huge amounts of money, and it's going to do tiny things for the environment. And then, of course, we looked at, the overall expenditures, and because the state put out a report just before Thanksgiving saying, here's all the great things that we've spent the money on. And not only are they great, they're very effective in terms of how much it costs to reduce CO2. And when I saw that, I was like, that can't be right. And so I looked at some of the programs, and sure enough, they simply made up some of the numbers about how the projects reduce CO2 emissions. They have a project in Ellensburg that costs $4 million that they claim will reduce CO2 emissions, the equivalent of taking 1 million cars off the road for a year. For Ellensburg. Ellensburg is not a big community.
I was going to say,
way that is true.
1 million cars a year. I don't think there's 1 million people who live in Seattle, let alone 1 million cars owned by 1 million people that aren't in Seattle, and they have it in Ellensburg. How many people drive through Ellensburg every day?
So it's totally ridiculous. It was a program to create to provide people heat pumps. So I reached out to Ellensburg and I said, hey, what is going on here? And I said, where did these numbers come from? And they were very nice. They were very candid. They said, look, here's the program. Here's what we're trying to do. But we don't know where those numbers came from. The state made those up, and they're totally wrong. So it's, that I think is, we have so much rhetoric about what a crisis this is and how important it is, and it's an existential crisis. But when you look at the accounting and how they make decisions about what's important and then how they spend the money to try to mitigate those things, you find so many problems. And it is just, I think it is an abdication of their responsibility to their own rhetoric. One of the things I say all the time is that the more serious you think climate change is, the more frustrated you should be by the way Washington does climate policy. I hear from a lot of people who say that they think it's made up or a hoax. It's not a hoax. There is risk. The risk is much lower than what many progressives say, but there is risk. But even if you think it's an existential crisis, even if you think we must deal with it, the way we are going about it should infuriate you, and I don't see many people in Olympia or outside who claim to be concerned about climate change calling these things out.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. In fact, you were talking about this hydrogen hub that doesn't exist anymore. Isn't hydrogen one of those things like ethanol, where it takes more energy to put it into liquid form so you can transport it safely? Otherwise, you end up with a Hindenburg example. It's one of those things where it just doesn't pan out, and yet they were committing a whole bunch of money to this?
Yeah, because they wanted it. Hydrogen is very abundant. So that is one of the nice things, is that you don't run into limits on the amount of resource because it's very abundant. So that's one of the attractive things. But you're right, and this is true to some extent with all sources of energy. When you transfer them to one form to another form that's more usable, it costs some energy to do that. So you're going to get that. But of course, you want to minimize that. You want it to be cost effective. You want the loss to be as little as possible. And the reason that we've had to spend so much money on these hydrogen hubs, and we keep promising, is because it never pans out. One of my favorite stories about that is that in the 2000s, Governor Gregoire and the governors of Oregon and California and the premier of British Columbia promised that by 2010, when the Olympics were in Vancouver, there would be a hydrogen highway where you could drive a hydrogen vehicle all the way from LA to Vancouver, and there would be enough filling stations. It wasn't close to true by 2010. So, hydrogen has always been this goal that people held out as, it's going to be the next great fuel. And, here we are in 2025, and it's still the next great fuel.
Yeah, just before we let you go, Todd, I see this thing here that's going to stop climate change all by itself, this one little expenditure here. HVAC improvements at the Chief Leschi School. That's going to do it to stop it worldwide, right? Just the HVAC improvements. If they want to subsidize things like that, I could use some new HVAC at my house, right?
Well, and the reason I called that out is that they spent more on that one project for one school than for all of the money they spent to mitigate flooding in the entire state. Now, it may be worthwhile, both in terms of making the school comfortable for the students and everything else. It may improve energy efficiency. There could be arguments for why that is actually a good project. But the fact that one project alone has cost more than all of the flooding mitigation efforts over the last 2 years, I think is truly remarkable.
Todd, I'm going to give you the biggest compliment, and I don't mean it to sound backhanded at all. I've never been a math guy, so I'm so glad I have somebody like you to do my homework for me and tell me all this, because without you, I wouldn't have all this amazing information. You do a stellar job. We love having you on the show, and thank you so much for giving us all this info today.
It's always nice to chat with you.
That's Todd Myers, who's the author of Time to Think Small, an advocate for environmental innovation, the vice president of research for the Washington Policy Center. Todd, thanks so much. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into the weekend. I almost said weekend. It's Monday again, Hoffman. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And a little change from our usual good news. This weekend, weekends are Sabbath, especially Shabbos, is when I get my book reading done. During the week, I'm so busy reading for the show. I'm so busy reading articles and doing research and calling people like Todd Myers to come on the show that I don't have enough time to read the actual books I bought. Somebody asked me recently, what books are on your nightstand? I go, well, there's a pile of Mets books. There's a pile of Clive Cussler books I haven't gotten to yet. And then there's some other random political books. But one, I jumped to the head of the line, which was Charlie Kirk's new book, Stop in the Name of God, How Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. I have to admit I was a little skeptical of this book. And let me tell you why. I consider myself well-versed in the Sabbath. Why? Because I've been celebrating it since I was born. As an Orthodox Jew, 25 hours a week, I am offline. You cannot get me. You can only find me if you know where I go to synagogue. That is it. I am off the grid. I've been doing this my entire life. Never missed a single one. That is what I do. So I didn't think I was going to learn much from Charlie Kirk, who's relatively new to this whole Sabbath thing. I didn't think I was going to get that much out of it. I was blown away from the book. First of all, a reminder, a review of biblical sources is always a good thing. But you know what's great? When you're able to adapt that to a modern audience by talking about how much you get out of not using your cell phone on Sabbath and how much you get out of not using your computer on Sabbath. And he was talking about how much he was able to focus on his wife and his kids and his family and the important things and how much it meant to him. Now, he didn't just do this from the Jewish perspective, he did this from the Christian perspective. So for me, even though I'm not a Christian, even though I don't believe in the Christian stuff, it was fascinating to see Christian dogma, sources I had never seen before. That was fascinating to me. Comparative religion, always fascinating. But then there was something else. The book is dedicated to Dennis Prager. He wrote the book, Charlie Kirk wrote the book before he died. And he was very close with Dennis Prager. And as you know, Dennis Prager had a really bad fall and is basically a quadriplegic now. He fell slipping and getting out of the shower. And Dennis Prager gave Charlie Kirk his show before Charlie Kirk was tragically assassinated. And it is clear the two were very close. It is true they learned a lot of the source material together. And Dennis Prager, who's very, very knowledgeable in Jewish sources, was giving Charlie Kirk a lot of his explanation, a lot of his interpretation, a lot of the stuff from the rabbis, a lot of the stuff from the Talmud, a lot of stuff from the Mishnah, a lot of stuff from a lot of places to put these ideas together. There was such an inherent understanding of why we do the Sabbath, brought into the modern day, combined with why people of other religions should do the same thing. It was a masterwork, and it wasn't very long either. Somebody told me, and this is ironic for the guy who's on the radio 3 hours a day, if you can't say your message in 5 to 7 minutes, don't bother trying. Because if you just keep rambling and rambling and rambling and rambling, you lose your audience at some point. When people go to Ari Hoffman's speeches, which I give for various organizations, I usually keep my remarks short so people could do the Q&A afterwards of whatever they wanted to ask. Specifically for that reason. Why do we watch Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk's takedowns of people? You don't normally want to see the speech. You want to watch them go head-to-head with the other person. What happened today when Jeff from Poulsbo called up to accuse me of being part of the Israel lobby, not talking about the genocide? The text line blew up. People are here for that. People want the back and forth to go between. Mike says to me in my ears as this whole thing was going on, because he saw I was about to do a me, he goes, no, let him cook. Let them cook. Because once you do that, you usually give them enough rope to hang themselves, which is, Mike knows me all too well at this point. Mike's my work wife. But I'll say is that this book, he managed to say it succinctly that I got through this thing in an evening. I got through this book on Friday night. Got through it. And it was detailed. It was well researched. I think it was phenomenal. You should go pick up Stop in the Name of God immediately. You should have it. How honoring the Sabbath will transform your life. It's amazing.
Well, now's as good a time as any to remind folks that coming up this Friday,
yes,
you're going to be broadcasting from Turning Point USA's America Fest down in Phoenix, Arizona, sponsored by our friends at Conservative Move.
It's funny you mentioned that. You beat me to it because I was about to bring that up and say one of my goals of going to Turning Point USA is I'm taking the book with me. I really want 2 signatures on that book. I want Andrew Colvett, who was Charlie Kirk's producer, and I want Erica Kirk. And as I've told the story before, when I meet Erica Kirk, hopefully I get to meet her on this trip. When I meet Erica Kirk, I have to apologize to her for something with Charlie, where I have to apologize for the fact that when I had Charlie on my show, I'm a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed radio host who didn't let his guests talk enough and kept trying to move the conversation away to religion over to politics because I got Charlie Kirk sitting in front of me. I don't want to talk about religion. And when I listen to that interview, it's fun. It's a good interview. I'm not going to say it's a bad interview. But it's one of the things I look back on and smack my head and go, should have let him talk more. And I want to know what Sabbath was like in the Kirk household. I want to know what that was like, and I want to talk to Erica about that. So I hope to get her signature on the book. That is one of my goals. That's what I can fanboy a little bit. I really want the signature on the book from Andrew and from her. That's what I really want. Well, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for us today, but fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests and more updates on the flooding going on here in Washington and illegal alien truckers. That plus so much more. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.